What is going on, everyone? This is Miles with Windows Central Gaming, and welcome to the 38th episode of Xbox Chaturdays. Today, I am stoked to be joined once again by Mr. Danger Zone, Parris Lilly. How you doing on this fine Saturday, my man?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me back again. This should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm stoked to have you back. I know you've done a few things since the last time we got to hang out, so I'm excited. You've been making the rounds. It's been amazing to see that beautiful mug out on the Xbox stage in Marvel spots. Genuinely stoked to see you out there killing it, dude. So grateful to have you on today.
Oh no, seriously, thank you for that. Like I told you offline, it has definitely been a crazy few months with a lot of the opportunities that I've had. So I'm just very thankful for them, and I hope people enjoy them because I'm always when I'm doing them in real time, I go, just don't screw it up.
Oh please, no, we got this. And that, yeah, the Mr. Danger Zone. I literally laughed out loud when you when you first had the shades, pulled the shades down slowly. Beautiful, loved it. So we have an amazing show today. We're going to be talking about the power of Smart Delivery on Xbox and how some of the competition is handling their upgrade paths. We're going to be talking about some controversy with the Halo Infinite Battle Pass. We're going to be talking about Dead Space, and we're going to be talking a little bit, of course, about the ongoing acquisition season, the meme that won't quit. So huge shout out to everyone tuning in live. But before we get into the kind of meat of today's show, everyone here, I assume, already knows you, but for the folks who don't, Parris, let people know who you are and where they can find you.
Sure. My name's Parris Lilly, and I am a content creator. I can be found over at Gamertag Radio. I can be found on Kind of Funny, and I also have my own YouTube channel, which is my name, Parris, Parris, and I'm a frequent tweeter. So you can find me on Twitter at Vicious696, and I may or may not say something that makes you upset or you might agree with. I don't know. But today I made people upset, but I'm sure we'll get into that one later too.
Of course, with Twitter, it's all it takes is just one word and people get
Yeah.
outraged. So I love Twitter. It's mostly fun, but sometimes it is a bit awful. But I'm glad we can all share in it together.
Yep.
One thing I did with our good friend Khalif Adams for our returning guest, and I want to do with you today before we get into the show, is for the people watching, I want you to list your 3 favorite games and or franchises. Because I want to play a little game. Cue the Saw music.
My 3 favorite games, and this actually kind of correlates into franchises as well. So my favorite game ever is Super Mario Brothers 3. I would say behind that would be Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and Mass Effect 2. And those just so happen to also be my 3 favorite franchises as well, because they just came at pivotal moments in my quote unquote gaming life. There's just fond memories around each title. And then when I think about those franchises as a whole, there's just so many amazing moments in them. But yeah, I would say those are the 3.
Those are 3 amazing picks, iconic video games that have changed the course of the industry forever. Now, here's where things get a little interesting, Parris. I want you to pick one of those games that goes away forever, doesn't exist anymore. And then I want you to pick another game that still exists, but you don't get to play it ever again.
Can I refuse to answer that?
No,
you can't. I would say if one had to go away, it would probably be Ocarina of Time. If one to go away, but then you said there's one that still exists, but I can't play it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Mario 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm gonna get to a quick super chat here from Mr. Joanna Dark. Happy Labor Day weekend, gentlemen. Happy to be spending my Saturday afternoon kicking with you 2 awesome dudes. Appreciate you. Appreciate everyone hanging in the chat. I see Harji Chani, Mr. Joanna Dark, a lot of amazing familiar faces. And we're going to dive right into it. We're going to dive into the meat. We're going to dive into a little bit of the kind of hot topic this week. And that has been the kind of controversy surrounding Horizon Forbidden West and the upgrade path that PlayStation is offering fans, or more specifically, the lack thereof when it comes to an upgrade path. So for people who don't know what's going on with the situation, PlayStation has come out and said, here are all the different versions of Horizon Forbidden West. You can buy it on PS4, you can buy it on PS5. There is only one version at $80 that basically gets you dual entitlement, meaning you get to play on PS4 or PS5, meaning a lot of these editions of the game don't give you a PS5 upgrade. And from what it sounds like right now, they're not offering any sort of upgrade outside of this $80 option for people playing on PS4. So there's obviously been a lot of, hot takes on this and calling PlayStation bad. And, you mentioned some spicy tweets earlier that you had that upset people, Parris. So where do you stand on this situation with Horizon Forbidden West?
So I actually just talked about this on XCast, which you can also check out on Kind of Funny. The latest episode came out at 6 a.m. this morning, and we talked about it there as well. And I've actually been kind of hesitant talking about it on social media, but earlier today I even said something as well. And here's the truth of the matter. They clearly went back on something they said earlier about free upgrades from PS4 version to PS5. We understand that. We get it. Let's take that out of the conversation for right now. It's disappointing how they've not included a reasonable upgrade path if you buy the standard edition on PS4 to go to PS5. To me, that's the crux of the issue right now, right? So I don't think, like, what is it? If you buy the $80 version, I guess you can get both versions or whatever. Because now you're essentially charging a person that has a PlayStation 4, you're charging them $20 extra to be able to upgrade it to the PS5. That's unacceptable as well. The compromise here is pretty straightforward, in my opinion. You say, all right, the PS4 version is $60, the PS5 version is $70. You charge $10 to upgrade to the PS5 version for someone that wants to do that. You give them that option. To me, that's fair. Yes, it still goes back against everything they said, earlier. They have to own and accept that. But I think what happens here by the time we get to February is we will see a $10 upgrade option magically appear out of the ether, right? Because to me, that's the most fair, logical, and reasonable thing to be able to do here, because not everyone that buys that $60 version on the PlayStation 4 is going to want to upgrade to a PlayStation 5. So you just give that option that's there. And kind of my big thing, and why I've been thinking about this during the week, is the reality is this: not everyone that wants a PlayStation 5 is going to be able to get a PlayStation 5 in February 2022. So you will have people that, like, Horizon Forbidden West is my most anticipated game. I've been saying this for a while. That's the game I want to play. So I'm very excited for February 18th, 2022. But you will also have other people out there that it's similar. They want to play it when it comes out. So guess what? They don't have a PlayStation 5. They're going to go pick up that PlayStation 4 version. But then let's say a month later, they're able to get a PlayStation 5. You're really going to tell me that there's no way for them to upgrade from that standard version they bought at $60, or they got to go buy a whole nother version of the PlayStation 5 version? What does that mean for their progress? Does their saves carry over? There's still questions that PlayStation needs to answer as far as that goes. Right now, this looks bad for them. It just does, because it doesn't look consumer friendly to have these tiered versions of the game. And like I said, not a reasonable way to go from my PS4 version to my PS5 version. So we'll see how this plays out over the next few months. But like I said, I think what will ultimately land is you will see a new tier that says, hey, if you buy the standard version on PS4, give us $10. You can upgrade it to PS5. And if you don't, you can still play that PS4 version backwards compatible on your PS5. To me, that ultimately seems to be the compromise we'll get out of all of this.
Yeah, I think a lot of the frustration for a lot of people comes from the fact that PlayStation's been very inconsistent with its upgrade path for first party titles. You can look at Xbox, and we know exactly how it's going to work with every single Xbox game because they have Smart Delivery. They have a unified approach. So we know if I buy this version on my Xbox One, I don't have a Series X yet. When I have my Series X, it's handled. It's good to go. All my saves, all of that stuff is going to be ready to go. There's no upgrade charge. So it's kind of baffling that PlayStation had this initial stance of, we're going to have an upgrade path for certain games. And
Yeah.
there's been conversations about the wording of that. And, to, be technical, they said launch games on PS5
Right.
would have an upgrade path. Not every single game. In that same paragraph, they do mention Horizon Forbidden West, which a lot of people took that as they are meaning this game will have an upgrade path as well. But it's baffling that after all this time, they don't have a clear, consistent strategy for these titles. And let's be real, the average person isn't going to be in the know on Twitter and following the blogs to understand how this works. So you're going to have people who have a PS4 now, can't get a PS5. They're going to buy Horizon. Eventually down the road, they are going to buy their PS5. They're going to go to play Horizon and they can't. And they're going to be basically asked to spend $70 on top of the $60 that they paid for this game to play the upgraded version of Horizon. And it's just really strange. And I think, Smart Delivery on Xbox's side is amplifying the frustrations for a lot of people, because let's say we live in a world where Xbox wasn't forward thinking with this. Xbox didn't have Smart Delivery as an option, and Xbox also had this weird kind of upgrade path for a lot of their titles. We probably wouldn't be having these conversations. A lot of us would be just saying, it's just the way it is. Like, it's complicated, whatever. But one person's doing it and one person is not. And that is why the conversations are so passionate, for lack of a better word.
And let me say this too, because this is a more Xbox centric show. So, let's just call it for what it is. A year ago, Xbox was getting crucified for the Smart Delivery marketing term, and Matt Booty coming out and saying that they were going to support cross-gen games, for the next year to 18 months or whatever it was. They said that at the beginning of 2020, and people were crucifying them for that. And here we are now, and looking that obviously both PlayStation and Xbox are doing cross-gen games, but the differentiating factor here is Smart Delivery. Not only is it a marketing term, but it actually works. And like, I'll bring Psychonauts 2 into this as an example. Play anywhere. The way that the cloud saves works. Like, I've played Psychonauts 2 across the Series S, the X, and the PC, and I haven't even had to think about it as far as my progress goes. And even the way that they're doing Play Anywhere, the cloud saves, it's smart enough to know that I had like quick resume going on my X, but then I hopped on my PC and I did more progress. When I hopped back on my X, it knew, hey, your cloud save is newer than what you have locally. Do you want to use that? Like, that technology that they have with Smart Delivery, I don't have to think. I know that I'm always going to have the best version of that game because they support that. I think of even a third-party game like Jedi Fallen Order as an example. Once there was an optimized version, boop, updated, I'm good. Destiny 2 is something else I play, updated, it's good. You're seeing this now to where if you're playing on an Xbox platform, you don't have to think about it. And look, that's how it should be. I get PlayStation's not doing it. That's fine. I get the way that they're upgrading things, they're charging for it. That is what they've determined they want to do. It's business. I don't have to like it, but it is business. But going back to the main crux with Horizon, the problem is there isn't a path. That's to me is the biggest thing. Just give me a reasonable way to upgrade that game to the quote unquote next gen version. And I don't think we're having this conversation right now. But yeah, Microsoft looks really good right now with Smart Delivery and the way that they're handling cloud saves, because it just works. It's the old Apple term. It just works. That's great.
Yeah, because you bring up an excellent point. When Smart Delivery was first announced, you had a lot of people saying, this is just a gimmick for cross-buy. Yep. This already exists. This is not new technology. We shouldn't be celebrating this because it isn't anything inherently new. And then you have people come out from Xbox trying to say, like this is something new. This isn't cross-buy. There's a lot more systems in place for this. This is ensuring that whatever console you're playing on has the best version, and you're not going to have to worry about buying or transferring data from specific versions. Because not only are people having to pay for upgrades on PlayStation, but you look at games like Marvel's Avengers and all these situations where getting your save data, getting something as simple as save data, is a huge process. It's like a 5-6 step process to transfer your save data from the PS4 version of Avengers to the PS5. And again, you talk about cloud saves on Xbox and everything just working. Like, it's simple. at least now I take it for granted because I just assume it's going to be there. And when it's not, when I go somewhere where it's not, it's really obvious. So I think that's also amplifying the frustrations. And a lot of people, and I don't know if you feel the same way, just are basically saying that PlayStation was not forward thinking with the process from PS4 to PS5, and they are basically asking their fan base to just accept it and figure it out because they don't have a solution for it.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of that's where we are. I tell the story all the time. And side note, I'm looking at the chat. Someone saying my voice is lower than yours. You might want to check that. But while you're checking that, I'll say this. I tell the story all the time. Back in 20, I went to, there was an Xbox Spring Showcase in San Francisco, and I went to it. And Phil Spencer gave a keynote at the beginning of it, and it was just for the people in the audience. It wasn't necessarily for public consumption. And he laid out everything that we see today as far as the services that goes with Xbox, talking about play anywhere in the cloud, and you know bringing games to multiple platforms, all this stuff that he talked about then, and we're actually seeing that reality play out now in real time. And again, as a gamer, as a consumer, it's great to see. Do I wish PlayStation was doing it? Absolutely, I wish they were, but they're not. And I do think, they're not there today, but I do think they will get there at some point, because I bring up the whole thing with, like, with cloud saves and progress as an example. Another thing that has not been spelled out is, if I start playing Horizon Forbidden West on my PlayStation 4 and I upgrade to the PlayStation 5, will my progress follow me? Because that isn't necessarily an absolute right now on PlayStation, and we'll have to see. I know it's, like Ghost of Tsushima. There's been scenarios where it's worked out, but not everyone, not every case does it work out, and they need to get to that point where I don't have to question it. I don't have to think about it. It just works. That's why I brought up the Psychonauts 2 example earlier. I don't have to think about it. I know my progress is going to follow me no matter where I go, to play on an Xbox platform. And I do think PlayStation will get there. And yeah, right now it does not look good. I mean, people are genuinely upset about this. I mean, I know a lot of people want to hold them to the fact that they're saying, you promised the upgrade would be free, and instead you're going to charge me 20 extra dollars to do it and not give me a reasonable path for it. So they'll fix it. They'll figure it out, I'm sure. It doesn't look good today, but I'm sure by the time we get to February next year, there'll be something reasonable, for all consumers.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Quick shout out to the 170 people rocking with us. If you're new to the show, we stream live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're digging the show, hit that like button, share it out. You touched on something that I want to kind of circle back on, and that's the kind of, outcry from customers and fans on the PlayStation side. And there's been this camp of people defending this approach. And do you think that is, as a customer, should we be defending a decision like this? Obviously, business is business. Obviously, this is designed to make PlayStation money. As a customer, should we support that? Should we condone that?
Here's what I'll say, because I strongly believe this. It's an individual choice. What you want to support, or what you don't want to support, what you think is fair, what you think is not fair. I will tell you what I think. No, I absolutely would not support this, because no, I don't think it's okay what they're currently doing, and that's why I said they need to provide a reasonable upgrade path for people that are on PlayStation 4. And my reason is pretty simple, because not everyone's going to be able to have a PlayStation 5 if they want one when the game comes out. So
Mhm.
that's why I think they need to do this. I understand people's individual motivations for thinking it's okay, and I've seen the chatter on social media. I don't want to necessarily dive into some of those comments, other than to say everything. It's your money on how you decide you want to spend it. If you don't think it's okay, be vocal about it, but be respectful at the same time.
Yes.
Critical and fair feedback is absolutely needed. Some of the things that I've seen, that's ridiculous. We don't want to go there, but at the end of the day, it's your wallet, your choice, how you want to spend your money. If you think what Sony's done is okay, then God bless you, go do your thing. If you don't think it's okay, then you need to make a choice on how you want to voice your opinion, or not support it at all, because we all have the option of not buying the game. You could say this is not okay, I'm not going to buy the game. That is perfectly fine because that is your individual decision. So I'll never tell anyone what they should think or how they should feel about this because it's an individual choice.
Yeah, I'm in the exact same camp. Like I've talked about this before on the show, but I'm not in any position to tell people how to spend their money. We've all bought dumb things or things that other people would consider dumb. We've all made
Yeah.
bad purchases. So if
Yeah.
this is valuable to you and you think this is, the right approach, then by all means spend your money however you want.
Yeah.
But I think it's just amplified, like I mentioned earlier, because there is a path that we know exists, that can exist, where we don't have to do this. It just kind of amplifies the frustrations of a lot of people.
Agreed.
And I know this is an Xbox focus show, so I don't want this to come off as just PlayStation is bad. Towards the very end of the show, we're gonna touch on the PlayStation Showcase as well, because they do have a lot of cool stuff to talk about. So I don't want to make it all doom and gloom, but I did want to touch on this mostly because of the kind of contrast we're seeing with the early representation of Smart Delivery and where Smart Delivery stands right now. Because I think every time a PlayStation exclusive is announced, or every time there is an upgrade for a PlayStation game, people are like, okay, Smart Delivery was a really good idea.
No, of course it was. It's ease of use and consumer friendly. It absolutely was.
I'm gonna get to a couple super chats here. First up, Harjeet Chani. Would PlayStation be better off putting the game on PC and keeping the cost lower for games like this? Odd that the game costs more on PS5. Same game, right? All right, so what's your stance on this? We've talked about this previously. Should PlayStation focus on day and date releases for PS5 and PC to offset these costs?
No, they should not. And there's definitely been contention I've seen with comments that I've said in the past about this. Like, let's take it back to Horizon Zero Dawn, because that's kind of when all of this started about PC releases, for PlayStation games. I have said in the past that I love that PlayStation is starting to put PC games, put games on the PC platform, because not everything needs to always stay exclusive to the console. I understand there basically being a window where there's console exclusivity for PlayStation games. And then like Horizon Zero Dawn was was out for 3 years before it finally went to PC. At that point, putting on PC, all you're doing is you're exposing it to a new audience that gets to engage with it and play this game. And maybe if someone that plays it on PC really likes Horizon Zero Dawn, oh wait, Forbidden West is about, maybe I need to go get a PlayStation because I don't want to wait another 3 years to be able to play the sequel. You know what I mean? So that's how I look at it. So no, I don't think PlayStation needs to do day and date on PC. Obviously, Microsoft is doing it, and hey, I love it because personally, I don't think any game should be exclusive to any platform, but I understand why that happens. And look, I get it, all the console war people and all that stuff. I really don't care about that. I just care about playing great games. And I think bringing more games to more platforms exposes those games to more people, and we all get to enjoy them. My individual enjoyment does not matter that a game is on another platform. Why should I care? I shouldn't care about what I enjoy and what I play. But I understand the PlayStation model. Of course, they're not going to put them day and date. That doesn't make sense for them because they want you to go buy a PlayStation 5. They want you, they're using those exclusive games to get you into their ecosystem. And in a similar way, this is what Microsoft is doing, but it's a different approach because they're basically saying, we're going to put it on the PC. We're obviously going to have it on the console. We're going to have it on the cloud. It's different approaches that are trying to do the same exact thing. But for PlayStation, their model works for them because they're the leader in this space, right? They've made so many amazing games over the past decade. It works. It wouldn't make sense for them to put their games on PC day and date. But a year or two later, of course, why not? Because you're just exposing it to a broader audience at that point. And in my opinion, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, we are in a situation where we have two different business models between Xbox and PlayStation, and we're realistically seeing who's going to have the better long-term business model, because PlayStation right now, they are still focused on the hardware, and their business model is designed to make you buy a PlayStation 5. That is how they want to make money. That is how they want to tell their investors they're succeeding. That's why they scream those hardware sales numbers. Like every time there's a milestone, you hear about it. They want to let you know that PlayStation 5 has sold this, because right now that is their focus. And putting games day and date on PC right now is against their focus. Maybe there are conversations happening behind the scenes. Long term, I could see this happening for some titles. I don't think we're going to go, another generation with PlayStation having this exact same approach. But as it stands right now, and how they've invested, how they've basically distributed funds for this generation, they need to sell PS5s. They have to sell PS5s, and that means these games have to be exclusive to PS5, at least for some period of time. So yeah, as much as I want them day and date, because I'm in the exact same camp as you, more people playing these games means more people are going to talk about these games. These games, in theory, do better when they release on everything all at once. But as PlayStation, as someone trying to make money, as someone trying to maintain their market dominance, you got to buy a PS5, and we're going to make sure you buy a PS5.
Agreed.
So it sucks. It does suck. I get why people are mad, but PlayStation wants to make money, and PlayStation's kind of, as the big dog on campus, they kind of got that mafia mentality that, they put the games out. The games are amazing. You buy them. You buy a PS5, and if you don't like it, sorry, that's what it is. We're not catering to you at all.
Yep.
Mr. Joanna Dark with the super chat says, why do console gamers accept paying for graphical upgrades? The narrative is devs do not get paid. If so, why would they make a PC version? So I'll preface this by saying I have publicly complained about the $70 price tag for Battlefield 2042 on PS5 and Xbox Series X. Not on the previous gen versions. We know there's some upgrades, and it's not on the PC version. So in your eyes, Parris, is it okay that console versions of games like Battlefield 2042 are $10 more for the same features, or arguably less, depending on your PC?
Before I answer that, to be clear, Battlefield 2042 on PC is not $70.
Exactly. I'm saying it's $10 more on Series X and PS5.
Right. No, it's not okay. Of course it's not. But they do it because they can get away with it. Because guess what? The majority of people that are going to be, because they know there's this built-in audience that is not going to go build a $2,000 PC to be able to play Battlefield at 60. They'll spend the $70 because there's the convenience to play it on the console. It's business at that point. And again, since I have the platform to say this, I'll say this again. The way my lizard brain works is I'm always trying to look at the logic in things, right? I'm always trying to take the emotion out of trying to understand why a decision was made. And if you take the emotion out of it and look at this as a business, it allows them to make more money. That's why they do this. It's as simple as that. Whether that money goes down to the devs as a bonus or whatever, that's a discussion for another day. But as a publisher, EA is looking at this as, well, I can charge $70 for that. They are going to go pay it because they want to go play that game. On the PC side, maybe I can't get away with that because maybe on the PC side, they're going to say, well, I'll just go play free to play Fortnite or whatever. I don't know, but there's clearly reasons that went into this. They're looking at the numbers and they're understanding that, well, we can do this on the console side, but maybe we can't necessarily get away with this on the PC side. That's where they're doing it. I mean, it's as simple as that. Because let's keep it real. If they couldn't get away with charging you $70 for a game on the console, they wouldn't charge you $70. It's that simple.
Yes, it is really frustrating to see that kind of conflict, because you bring up an excellent point. I think EA understands that players on PC, generally speaking, have more options, and they are just not going to pay the extra $10. They will just play something else. Yeah. And they at least believe that whatever data they have suggests that console players will just eat the $10. This is the new hotness. This is the new Battlefield on Xbox Series X, on PS5. It's going to look dope. Here's all the marketing money we have from Xbox to show you why it looks good on the Series X.
Question again, because, and I didn't do my homework on this is why I'm asking. On Xbox One and PlayStation 4, is it $60?
It's $60, but it's like half the player count. So,
Okay, and that was going to be my point. That
mhm.
the argument is going to be, well, look, on the next gen consoles, we got 128 players, and we're this, so we need to charge you $10 more for that.
Yeah, all the work that goes into it.
Yeah,
Hoping that you don't look at the PC version and go, wait a
yeah,
second. This is
yeah.
the exact same thing. All the same features for $10 less. Why isn't the PS4 and Xbox One version $50 then? EA?
Now, just sticking on Battlefield 2042 since we brought this up because we might even talked about this the last time I was on, but there was a lot of speculation that that game was going to come to Game Pass, and I'm still not convinced, especially since there isn't a campaign. However you feel about it, doesn't matter. That charging $70 for Battlefield 2042 just might blow up in their face. I do think even on the console side, there's so much competition, free to play competition, as a matter of fact, that yes, your hardcore Battlefield audience will always run out and go buy that game. But the end goal always is to attract more players onto your game and to get them invested into playing it and buying your season passes and all that stuff. That $70 might be a barrier to entry to where, why am I doing that? I'll go play Fortnite. I'll go play Halo Infinite free to play. I'll go play Call of Duty Warzone. Why am I spending $70 for a multiplayer only Battlefield? I don't know if I necessarily want to do that. Maybe I'll wait until it's at discount, which is why, we were thinking, some months back, hey, maybe this thing comes to Game Pass. That gets people to want to go at least try it. Maybe they like it, they get hooked on it. Now they go buy the season pass and away they go. So I'm going to be fascinated to see how this plays out, over the next couple months when Battlefield does come out. What does it look like? Because we know it comes out on the 22nd of October. Call of Duty is a couple weeks later. We know Halo got pushed back into December. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where the player population goes and what their quote unquote preferred shooter is going to be. Not to mention, you're coming off a disappointing Battlefield 5. So I'm curious to see how it plays out. Hey, they're clearly smarter than me, so what do I know? So we'll see when the game launches.
I'm in the exact same camp. I want to see the data because this is a holiday season where we have the clash of all the biggest FPS titans in Battlefield, Call of Duty, and Halo all going head to head, all
Mhm.
having different approaches realistically.
Yep.
We have Battlefield 2042, multiplayer only, going all in on the multiplayer, charging you $70 on the Series X. We have Call of Duty Vanguard, a traditional, you have your core campaign, you have your core multiplayer suite, $70 on Xbox Series X as well. And then you have Halo Infinite, which is multiplayer is completely free to play, but the campaign essentially is $60. So you have all these different factors playing together at the same time. And I'm really curious to see if any of these will be the standout, if any of these will
Right.
have the right approach. And I'm really curious to see if Battlefield can stand toe to toe with a $70 release when you have Warzone free to play and when you have Halo Infinite's multiplayer being free to play.
Great.
Super chat from Yodani, who says, this is because on EA Origin, there's no 30% cut to Steam, Xbox, or PlayStation. I mean, that could be a factor.
Yeah, you're right.
Because you do have to get it through Origin. I know they're bringing some of their games to Steam, but correct me if I'm wrong, you still have to go through Origin via Steam, right, to play EA titles?
Well, Steam's got to be getting some type of cut.
That's
out of-
true,
out of
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's transition to Xbox at the Tokyo Game Show. So Xbox has confirmed that they will be presenting a showcase for Tokyo Game Show this year. In typical Aaron Greenberg fashion, he's sent out his iconic set expectations tweet, letting people know what to expect and basically telling people not to expect a whole lot when it comes to major new reveals or humongous announcements, which, as soon as this was revealed, people were running wild with speculation, as they always do, and it's fun to do. I get it. I'm there. So what I want to know from you, Parris, is what are you expecting out from Xbox at the Tokyo Game Show after Aaron Greenberg's tweet?
Here's what I'll say. Having now hosted a couple of Xbox events and being a part of that process, I would tell everyone, when Aaron is telling you to set expectations accordingly, please listen to him, please. I saw so many people thinking I was announcing the Halo Infinite release date during that Gamescom stream.
Yeah, people are like, where is it, Parris?
And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, no, I'm not.
I'm not doing it.
But yeah, set expectations accordingly. Like he said, these are going to be more announcements that are catered towards the Asian market, towards the Japanese market. So as a Western, gamer, don't expect them to announce, I don't know, freaking Gears of War 12 or something. That's not going to happen. They're not going to show you Perfect Dark at this. This is me assuming, because I know nothing. Don't expect these major, you're not going to get brand new avowed gameplay, things like that. Think about things. You'll probably see some Japanese RPGs. You're going to see things that the Japanese gamer is going to care about, right? So don't expect any bombshell announcements coming out of the Tokyo Game Show. And if you do that, you can enjoy it for what it is. I'm sure they'll slip in maybe, some small announcements here or there, but nothing groundbreaking in my personal opinion, because Aaron's literally telling you that ahead of time.
They were very clear with what this showcase is, as they were very clear with what the last showcase is. This is a showcase designed to get Japanese Xbox fans or people from Japan who maybe aren't invested in Xbox excited about Xbox as a platform, and letting you know that big Japanese games and games that Japanese players love are coming to Xbox or doing something on Xbox. So he says no major new reveals. But what I want to know, let's say they are announcing things that maybe aren't inherently new, but what would you want to see Xbox announce that caters to that Japanese audience?
That's a good question. I'm honestly not sure.
We get Final Fantasy VII? What's
yeah. See, it's like you saying that. Like again, set expectations. I would not expect some major Final Fantasy announcement or anything like that. It would be awesome. And I don't even want to say that, because I don't want people taking what I'm saying like, oh, Parris knows something, because I don't know anything. I legitimately know absolutely nothing about what they're going to show at TGS. I just think, they want, okay, here, let's take this angle. It is alleged that Xbox hardware is actually selling pretty well over there in Japan right now, right? I would guess we see, again, more Japanese, Asian market focused games like Game Pass announcements to now get those people that have picked up that hardware to subscribe to Game Pass. So again, when I talk about JRPGs, adventure titles, point and click, things that the typical Japanese gamer will engage with. Now, do I think it'll be these major blockbuster franchise Japanese titles? No. Do I think Hideo Kojima is walking out on stage and announcing his game? No, I do not. But
come on, Parris.
No, I am not going there at all. Because like he's saying, set expectations accordingly. If they were sitting on something huge, they would be teasing the hell out of it. In my opinion. And they're not. You have to look at it this way. They're going to TGS because they want to keep a presence in the Japanese market, and they will always want to make sure, like I'd imagine, just like last year, maybe Phil Spencer comes out, has pre-recorded message, you talk to, then you basically turn it over to, to the Xbox Japan team, whatever they're called, and then they're making more announcements focused for that audience, and they're reasonable announcements. They're not, announcing something that's coming in 2024. I don't think you'll get some big studio acquisition, things like that. Just doesn't make sense for that show and that crowd.
I agree. As much as I want to buy into some of the Persona confirmed for Xbox, Sega being announced for Xbox, as much as I want to believe that those things have a possibility of happening, this is not the place for that if they do end up happening. I assume we'll see some Game Pass announcements, though. I assume there will be.
Yeah, I do.
What I'm hoping for, again, this is just me wanting and hoping, is, some of these franchises that have maybe skipped Xbox in the past, that they aren't new games. They're games that have been out for a while. Maybe like the Final Fantasy franchise, we get some of those coming to Game Pass as a vessel to be like, hey, you know, Xbox understands what the Japanese audience wants, and we are working to get more JRPGs on Xbox because, let's be real, they are not the place for JRPGs. Xbox wants to be the best place to play, but if you prefer JRPGs, I cannot recommend Xbox as the platform to play. I'd say get a Switch, get a PlayStation 5, because Xbox has some huge gaps.
Now, I will shamelessly plug an interview that we did on Gamertag Radio. God, that was in the before times. That was in February 2020, before the pandemic. We had Phil Spencer on for our 1000th episode, and I asked him about Japan at that time, and he had I don't know if regret is the right word here, but definitely they're very aware, and you got to go back and listen to the interview, but he's very self-aware of the mistakes that they've made in Japan over the years, and they want to correct those mistakes. They want to have a real presence in Japan. He even talked about it with the Bethesda acquisition when they did the roundtable, and he even said then how excited he was to get Tango, and now we have a Japanese studio in place, and he can't wait to go to Tokyo. Like, they want to make, again, and this is the whole thing with Game Pass as a whole. They want Game Pass to be this robust subscription service, that there's something there for everyone, right? So they want to make sure they have games that an Asian market, that a Japanese market is going to be excited about. So they got to start those building blocks. And I know we're talking about acquisition season and all that. That may or may not happen. I've set my expectations accordingly, that I'm not expecting them to acquire Sega or Square or anything crazy like that. But I could definitely see them getting some smaller Japanese studios to make Japanese centric games that audience. Like, I think about in the 360 era, remember Blue Dragon and why am I screwing up the name
Lost
now?
Odyssey.
Thank you. Lost Odyssey. Do more of that. Sure, those games didn't turn out to be these big giant hits, but lean into that more. Make more of those games, because not only is the Japanese audience going to be excited about games like that, people like myself are going to be excited about them too. There are definitely Western gamers that love Japanese RPGs. So let's do more of those. Let's make more of those experiences. And then when you put them on a service like Game Pass, sure, not everyone's going to engage with them, but there's going to be an audience that will like to try them out and will want to play them. And I think when we think about 2021, to me, this has been the year of the indie and the AA.
Yes.
I saw Asa in there earlier, hating on Death's Door, but Death's Door is the game of the year. I don't care what anybody says. This is game of the year. And the point on that I'm trying to make is, let's see some more smaller games come from a Japanese studio. You get those things on Game Pass, and you never know what that small team could create, something unique and fun that everyone wants to try out. That's the whole point of this. You want to get different perspectives, different studios from around the globe. The more diverse games that we get, the better gaming is going to be, period. So I know that's super long-winded to talk about TGS in Japan, but to me, that would be the kind of announcement I would like to see come out of TGS. Let's see a smaller Japanese studio make a game for Xbox. It's on Game Pass or whatever, and let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on that in just a quick sec, because you made some excellent points, but got to give a quick shout out to the 230 people hanging with us. If you're new to the show, we are live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. If you are enjoying the show, enjoying hanging out with Parris and I, hit that like button and share it out. Yes, Parris, 100%. I want Tokyo Game Show to be a statement for Xbox to Japanese players that says, yes, we understand how we have failed in the past. We understand the fumbles of the late Xbox 360 generation and the Xbox One generation when it comes to supporting and nurturing Japanese players. Early on, original Xbox and early Xbox 360 was incredibly Japanese focused. A lot of people don't give Xbox credit, because we had From Software exclusives, we had Lost Odyssey, we had Blue Dragon, we had this huge slate of amazing Japanese developed exclusives for Xbox.
Dead or Alive 3.
Dead or Alive 3.
First game I ever bought on Xbox was Dead or Alive 3. Think about all the Ninja Gaiden games. But to your point, I know I interrupted, but yeah, there was a huge Japanese focus early on.
Yeah, so I want to see that come back. And, for a long time, PlayStation's kind of guilty of this as well. A lot of people are shifting to Western focus. There are still small Japanese studios putting out amazing games, but outside of Nintendo, your big dogs, your PlayStation and Xbox, have definitely veered hard to the West when it comes to their big exclusives. And I want to see, some more amazing Japanese titles come forward. I want to see the Mana series, Legend of Mana, Trials of Mana, Secret of Mana, like that series should be on Xbox. I'll remind Square and Xbox if anyone is listening, but I threw the gauntlet out. I said, if you bring those games to Xbox, I will get a Legend of Mana tattoo. Like, let's go. Like, that is a statement to them saying this needs to be corrected. You need to fix this. This can't be a situation where you just ignore. Because if you're on Xbox, you see it. You see all these franchises skip Xbox time and time and time again. And you're like, I'm just going to buy a PlayStation. Like, I'm not just going to sit here and just not play these games. And Xbox is losing, from a business perspective, they are losing market share by not catering to those players.
Agree. I mean, even think right now on Game Pass, you can play the entire Yakuza series, right? Lost Judgment is about to come. Obviously, I love, again, acquisition season, whatever. I love that Xbox seems to be, and Sega seem to definitely be partnered up here, and they're bringing those experiences to a Western audience that the Japanese audience has already been loving for years. Let's get more of that kind of stuff going. That's what I want to see.
Yes, Xbox at Tokyo Game Show. That's what I want to see. You better confirm Persona. You better confirm all the Mana games. What else are we confirming for Game Pass? I'll give you a grocery list of all the games I better see at Tokyo Game Show.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to get to a couple super chats here. We got Gaz. Oh, no. Self-promoting the sauce. Parris, thou shalt not fear the sauce.
I don't know what that means.
It's
because I've watched the show and he says the sauce a lot. I don't know what the sauce means. I don't know.
It's basically his version of spicy. When there's a hot take, when there's an inflammatory take, that's when the sauce comes out. So he's big and just drenching the sauce on everything.
Gotcha.
Harjeet Chani with another super chat says, Parris, curious what you thought of the shows you hosted. Do you think the shows were well paced? And do you have criticisms or things you would do better? I don't know. You don't have to touch on this, but
I will touch on it by saying this. I am deeply honored that they would even consider me to be a part of the extended show and a part of Gamescom. What your opinion of said show is your opinion. I personally love the experience. It's two experiences I'll never forget. I don't know if I'll ever get to do them again. But I enjoyed my time on there because let me just say this. It's a lot different being in front of the camera than it is sitting at home watching it. I will keep it that way. I will also say, when your very first experience ever being in front of camera on a big stage is E3, yeah, and you had to do it by yourself. Not that I was super nervous or anything, but it was quite the experience that first day. I've told the story on other shows, but the way we shot it was actually out of order. So it's funny watching it back because by the third day, I was a lot better and a lot comfortable than I was day one. So I can totally see what I shot on day one and I can see all the mistakes that I was doing versus like by day three. Like, as an example, the first interview I did was Halo, which was the last one that you saw. One of the best ones I did was Age of Empires, and then obviously the flight simulator stuff, Danger Zone. That was more towards the end, right? So I'm way more comfortable by the time I'm doing those things than I was the first time with the Halo thing. Now, the intro you see, that actually was the very first thing that I did. I don't want to say I cringe at it, but I see the mistakes. I know what I'm not doing right, and I'm sure everyone's like, oh, it's fine. But the reason I bring that up is by the time I did the Gamescom one, I just hit the ground running. I already knew what to do. I already knew what the camera turns were. I knew how to read on the teleprompter. I knew when I should improvise and when I should not, all that stuff. So I really enjoyed the experience. Had a lot of fun doing it. And I just feel like I'm only getting better at it, right? So if and or when that opportunity ever happens again, I think I'll be even better than I have been these first couple of times. So yeah, It's a very fun experience for sure. So if anyone out there ever gets the opportunity to do it, you will know exactly what I mean.
Just gonna be a seasoned pro for the next one. But yeah, no, I mean, you bring up some excellent points. Everyone's their own worst critic. Every time I watch myself on video, I'm like, God, this guy sucks. This guy's so annoying. But it's just how we are. So I'm stoked that you had those opportunities, and I'm sure you'll get more. I'm sure Phil's going to be knocking on that door again sometime in the future.
Well, according to Greg Miller, no, he won't.
Greg Miller's trying to shut it down. No, don't you take Parris from me. Don't. No. All right. Super chat from Binyabik, who says, tired of set expectations after X years on Xbox One. There should be time to break expectations. As a JRPG gamer, I want infos, investments, and future plans. He wants the 5-year plan from Phil Spencer on how they're going to fix Japan. Is that fair?
Let me answer this in a broader sense. I get what he's saying, focus it more on TGS. I would say if you look at what Xbox has done, especially just here in 2021, they're constantly in the news. Constantly. They're constantly giving you information. I would argue their Xbox Bethesda showcase was probably easily top 3 E3s they've ever done, if not the best one they've ever done as far as information, presentation, and all that. Call me biased because I was a part of it, fine, but I genuinely do mean that. Not everything they do is going to be a super blockbuster, because here's what'll happen. If you want them to basically not say anything until they got something major to say, then people are going to say, well, why is Xbox so quiet? Why are they not talking about this? I feel like giving you a steady flow of information makes more sense, so that when they do have something big to say, that small stuff that they're telling you throughout the year doesn't get lost in the shuffle of that big announcement that they're going to have, because that's why you have a Gamescom the way that they did it. That's why they used to do oh my God, why am I blanking on the names? You know the show they used to do, the Xbox.
Inside Xbox?
Inside Xbox.
Yeah.
Get the small stuff out of the way so that when you do have something big to say, that's all people are going to be talking about anyways, versus the other stuff getting lost in the shuffle. Again, Gamescom, I'll take it as an example because I got to say it and I was very proud to say it. Talking about cloud gaming coming to consoles. If you have that announcement on the same stage as Halo Infinite's coming out December 8th, 2021, what is everyone going to talk about? Halo Infinite's coming out December 8th, 2021. That cloud gaming announcement gets lost in the shovel. The gunk, the Game Pass, all that stuff that they did talk about in Gamescom. We're not talking about that if you do that on the same stage as Halo, as an example. You can agree or disagree with the show and all that. I understand that. That is, again, your individual opinion. But this is why I think you don't see just everything's a blockbuster, because not everything can be a blockbuster. And they're letting you know ahead of time, TGS is not going to be a blockbuster. And to answer his other part of that question, they can't fix Japan in a day. It's impossible. They can't lay out a roadmap for 5 years of how they're going to fix Japan when, to be honest, they've been trying to figure that out for 20 years. Let's see what they can do. They clearly have a commitment to it, but I don't think there's a magic wand to fixing Japan. I just think you have to put your head down. You have to understand what that region and that audience wants to see, and you got to start delivering on it. There's a lot of talking in this industry, a lot of talk. I want to see tangible things that I actually can get my hands on that show the talk is actually being executed. Bringing this full circle, smart delivery. There's a lot of talk a year ago. It's a reality now, and it works. That's the point.
Phil Spencer has been an incredible figure for Xbox's commitment to Japan. Again, as when you're someone like Phil Spencer, when you're in his position, everything you say is very specific, and you can't just casually say anything, because everything you say and do is under a microscope, realistically.
It is.
So when Phil Spencer tells you he's excited to go back to Japan, when Phil Spencer tells you he's going to From Software and he's talking to Miyazaki, like, those things are important. Those are his ways of telling you that he is committed to Japan and he is doing what he can. Obviously, the pandemic makes it so he can't just casually go to Japan whenever he wants, but he is showing you that Xbox is committed to Japan. They are doing what they have to do to have a presence in Japan. And it's hard to say when we'll see the fruits of that, if we'll see the fruits of that, but I believe that Xbox is trying harder than they've ever tried to make Xbox a force to be reckoned with in Japan, quite frankly.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think there's genuine commitment, and that's all you can ask for. Will they succeed? We don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out. But they've not given up, and they are trying. And yeah, like I said before, that's all you can do in this. But it's all talk until we actually see the plan in action. So
yeah, and Phil Spencer, as much as he's a hardcore Xbox fan, he's a hardcore fan of gaming. You constantly see him praising Nintendo, you see him praising PlayStation games, and I think that resonates with a lot of developers because they can look at Phil Spencer and his vision for Xbox and at least feel that it's genuine. And let's say the Hideo Kojima game is real, that gets announced. That's going to move the needle for Japanese developers on Xbox, because if Xbox has wooed Kojima, one of the most infamous Japanese developers of all time, and Kojima sees value in working with Xbox, I can guarantee that a lot of other big Japanese developers be like, all right, let's at least have the conversations. Let's see what they want to do, and let's see if we can make a deal. And that doesn't need to be acquisitions. Xbox doesn't have to buy every Japanese developer. There's always the conversations of, oh, well, Xbox can't buy a Japanese developer because it's illegal. And all those kind of conversations come up whenever you mention that. But strategic partnerships, exclusive announcements, and exclusive games are great ways that Xbox can leverage Japanese developers on their platform.
Agreed.
I'm gonna get to some more super chats. Space Dovahkiin says Final Fantasy VII Remake, Persona Saga, and Sega confirmed. Exactly. That's what you should expect from Tokyo Game Show.
Right.
Space Dovahkiin also says Mistwalker, the iconic developers of Lost Odyssey. A lot of people, that's one I always see in the who should Xbox buy from Japan. Mistwalker is always like the #1 studio people mention. One more super chat from Kyle Martin. Just a sweet, nice one. Says, have a great weekend, gents. Appreciate it.
Weekend.
All right. So I want to transition into Halo Infinite and Halo Infinite's kind of transparency leading up to launch. Because say what you will about, how you feel about co-op, how you feel about the battle pass. 343 Industries has done an amazing job telling you exactly what they're doing with the feedback they're getting. Most people aren't going to read it because that feedback is like 50 pages long, and it's a lot, but they are committed to telling you exactly how they're going to fix these problems. A recent problem, and a problem that sort of exploded for Halo Infinite, has been how they are handling progression in the battle pass. And this started with a tweet basically from a 343 team member who said that, daily and weekly challenges are going to be the only way to progress in the battle pass. People saw that, it kind of exploded. They confirmed again, like reiterating, there will be no XP per match. People saw that, exploded. We reached out to get clarification from the team, and we were told that, the plan basically right now for launch is that there will be no progression outside of the battle pass, at least is the current plan. So there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of anger, quite frankly, about this approach. So did you get a chance to read their humongous kind of update yesterday, Parris?
I have not. I did not, because I know that one was a lot of the feedback from the technical preview. So I've only seen snippets from it, but I haven't actually read the whole thing myself.
Yeah, so high level, they break down, audio, what people liked about the audio. They broke down what people liked about the gameplay. They broke down what people liked and didn't like about the bots. So they had a section for each of the core components of the technical preview. One of those sections was progression. And they basically reiterated that, yes, for launch, all progress will be tied to daily and weekly challenges, but we are going to give players, multiple daily challenges per day and multiple opportunities to earn challenges in a single day. So it's not one set amount, but you'll have a way to earn it consistently. But they did kind of reiterate that at launch, they don't have plans to have XP per match. So where do you stand with the battle pass for Halo Infinite? Because there were concerns as soon as they said free to play with Halo. There were concerns. People had their concerns, some fair, some not. So with everything we know now about the Battle Pass, how is this sitting with you?
There's things about the battle pass I absolutely love. I love that, you're not tied into a time limit on when you can use it. You can go back and get you know, ones from the past, things like that. Love all that. I think all that is great. But this progression thing, I do not like at all. And when I originally heard about it, I thought it was just that you can't progress against the bots. That makes sense, of course. But tying all your progress into basically being forced to do these challenges. Not everyone wants to do that. Most people just want to go play against their friends and have fun. When you tie challenges, and we don't, those in the technical preview, it's not that they were too complex in there. Like I was able to
No.
easily get them by just playing the game. I get it. But I don't want to have to even think about that to just simply progress through the game, right? Or through the battle pass. I want to just play the game. I want to be as strategic or not as strategic, whatever it is I want to do. And I know that by just playing the game, I'm having momentum. If I'm not using a certain weapon, or I don't want to throw a grenade because that's it. It's like all that, you start adding all that stuff in, it doesn't sound fun. And that's the problem I have with it. Making me have to do challenges doesn't sound fun to me. I want to just play the game. And yeah, I want the cool shaders. Like if I see that carrot on the end of the stick and I know I have to do X, Y, and Z to get the carrot, then to get it, I'm gonna go do it. That I get. I play Destiny for 7 years, of course. I know how it works. But I don't want just the normal battle pass progression to be tied into challenges, especially if it winds up just being the same damn challenges every day, every week, constantly. Maybe I just want to go into big team battle with my friends and I want to drive the warthog around,
Yes.
and that's it. Maybe that's all I want to do. I don't want to have to go shoot people. I don't want to have to go use a certain weapon to get a certain thing. Maybe I don't want to do that. I shouldn't have to. We will see how this plays out. I will just say, from the outside looking in, I'm not a fan of it. I think if we have this conversation a year from now, I don't think it will be the case anymore. That's just me. I think this will eventually change. I think they're trying something. Obviously, you got to take risks, to separate yourself from the crowd. I get it. I just don't think this one will work. I think as a whole, the Halo community will ultimately reject this. But that's
Yes.
just my opinion. I could be wrong.
I'm on the same page with you here. I had a mega rant a couple episodes ago about the industry standard of battle passes and how I cannot stand. In fact, I hate the fact that most battle passes are tied exclusively to daily and weekly challenges, because you're right. Let's celebrate the fact that these challenges don't expire in Halo Infinite. That is huge. The FOMO is kind of eliminated. That being said, if it takes me 40, 50 days, I have to play 40 or 50 days of Halo, do these challenges every single day to finish this battle pass, that doesn't respect my time. As much as they're trying to promote that as the logic for these not expiring, especially if you're paying. That's the most frustrating thing about a lot of these tiers is once you're buying in, if I'm paying money and then you're restricting what I get for the money I put in, it's not to sound cynical, and this is not designed to be unfair, but the reality is, with their free-to-play model, this is inherently designed so you buy those challenge swaps. I am not good with sniper rifles in Halo. I love Halo. Sniper's not my jam. If I have get 20 sniper rifle kills in a day, I'm not doing that. I am not going to do that challenge, so I'm not going to be able to progress for that day unless I use a swap token. And swap tokens, I'm sure, are something they might consider. They say they're not going to sell anything a la carte, but they are doing things that a lot of free-to-play games do. And it's hard to say if that's inherently bad or not, but I was hoping that after they announced how the expiration dates would work for these battle passes, that they would be more forward thinking and they wouldn't be chasing the industry standard, that they would be setting a new standard for battle passes. But maybe slightly unfair of me to expect that, but the more I hear about how progress works, the more concerns I have about Halo Infinite's multiplayer.
Let me let me say this about Halo in general, because I've said this multiple times. Some people agree with me, some people disagree, and that's fine. But this is just how I personally feel. 20-year anniversary is about to happen. We've seen all the challenges, the ups and downs, and the roller coaster of development for Halo Infinite.
Hmm.
All of that is about to come to a head here on December 8th. I've said it before, I've said it again. This is the most important game that Xbox has ever put out. It
No
can't
pressure.
just
No
be a
pressure. 343.
no, and here's the point. Yeah, because it's the point I'm making. It can't just be okay. It can't. It can't just be an okay game. It has to be great. It has to be great in the campaign. It has to be great on the multiplayer. 343, whether it is publicly acknowledged or not, is probably under extreme pressure right now to deliver. This is probably why Joe Staten has said, look, we're not making campaign sizzle reel trailers and doing all this stuff because we can't afford to take resources away from getting this campaign as polished and ready as possible for December 8th. That is the mantra, that is the goal, that is the marching orders, that is what they're going to do. If they deliver a polished, compelling campaign story and a multiplayer on December 8th, all the stuff we're talking about right now doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Because that is all that matters. Seriously. They could have the most amazing battle pass in the history of battle passes that we're all loving right now. But if that multiplayer isn't right on December 8th, who cares? That's what they got to get right. They got to get this game right. They know it. They know it. They know they can't deliver an unpolished game. They know it. So that's what they're trying to do right now. I get it. And I'm not making an excuse for the battle pass because, like I said, I don't agree with it. But the priority even more so because you can change the battle pass,
Exactly.
but the multiplayer's not right. None of that's going to matter anyways. And I don't take credit for this, but I mean it was really a no-brainer when I thought about it. Someone else said this. Do you realize because the Halo multiplayer is free to play, the this will be the biggest engagement a Halo game has ever had.
Hmm.
Because not only is it on the Xbox, it's going to be on PC as well. There are going to be more people playing Halo Infinite than they've had in any other Halo game. So think about it. It is going to be on the grandest of stages because of that fact. They cannot screw this up. They know it. They know it. They know it. Of course. They know it. Of course, obviously everyone wants to see them succeed. I'm sure every resource possible is being thrown at this to make sure that they get it right. But we can talk about a battle pass all day. We can talk about what we like about it, what we don't like about it, all this stuff. But none of that matters if they can't deliver on December 8th. So just
Yeah.
wanted to say that.
As much, we all have I mean, not all. A lot of us have criticisms and concerns, and a lot of them are fair. But like you say, if Halo Infinite comes out on December 8th, the campaign hits all the right beats, super polished, feels great, delivers this kind of big, ambitious, open world-ish Halo that they've been
Yeah.
talking about. If the multiplayer comes out with a nice, tight, polished suite of classic Halo gameplay that everyone loves, that'll be what people are talking about. People will be talking about how great it feels to play Halo. And like you mentioned, this is the first time that Halo multiplayer is free to play, and this is the first time ever that Halo will be launching across console and PC on day one. The biggest install base for a Halo ever, and free to play is automatically going to increase that. So there are going to be more people playing this than ever. I don't imagine there's any world where Halo Infinite comes out and is not good. Like that's where I'm at. I'm not expecting a bad Halo by any means. I just don't want the conversations to turn into like Halo is good, but and then there's this
Yes.
list of things that people are
Yes.
nitpicking and critiquing. I just want people to play Halo, have a damn good time, play some big team battles. That's what I want to hear people talking about. I don't want to hear people talking about the battle pass progression. I don't want to hear people talking about campaign bugs or whatever might happen. I just want people to talk about Halo being good, and I hope that's the reality.
But this is also where, bringing this even back to the Horizon Forbidden West conversation we had earlier, this is where respectful but critical feedback is essential coming from the community. We need to voice our opinions about what we're liking, what we didn't like. Obviously, during the technical preview, we've already seen the case is that because clearly they're listening. Clearly they don't.
Yes. Yeah.
Here's the biggest dirty secret in the entire gaming industry. There's not one developer, not never ever, that wants to deliver a bad game. No one does.
No.
Nobody
No.
does. Everyone wants to make an amazing game, but not everyone does. We obviously understand that. We need to give proper feedback. And like I said, respectful feedback. You don't have to like it, but you also don't have to be raging on social media, yelling and cursing at these guys who have put their blood, sweat, and tears and years trying to make this
Yes.
game to deliver the best game they possibly can. They know it. They obviously they want to deliver a great Halo. We all want a great Halo, of course. Like I said, I just all I've said on this is that game is so important to what Xbox does. If your flagship game, look, all the stuff we've been talking about, all the services and this and that and all that, if your flagship game under delivers, what does that say about everything else that you're trying to do? Because that's what everyone's going to look at. So they know. Trust me, they know. And they know they have to deliver on this. And this is why I am adamant saying Halo can't just be okay. It has to be great. It has to be great. There's been too much time in between Halo 5 to when we're going to get Halo Infinite that they cannot deliver a subpar Halo. It has to be great. It has to be Return of Master Chief. Oh my God, that story with Chief and Cortana. Oh my God, I was tearing up at the end. And oh man, remember that moment I had in the sandbox? Oh my God, last night in Big Team Battle. Oh, it was freaking great. That's what we want to hear. That's what we want to see because that means Halo is back. Halo is back to those Halo 3 days because those are my fondest memories of Halo, which I'm getting old. 15 years ago at this point.
God. Oh no.
That's where we need to get again. And they know that. They understand that. So yeah, the battle pass stuff, I mean, we'll have to see it play out in real time, how it goes. Maybe the challenges are so simple on a daily basis that literally you're just playing the game and it won't matter. And maybe the more complex ones are the weekly and the monthly challenges where, all right, I do have to put some effort into this. I do specifically have to do certain things. But I think the biggest thing about the battle pass that'll make a success or failure is going to be, what am I chasing inside of it? Give me the carrot, give me the new shiny in there that I'm like, oh man, I want that. What do I have to do to get that? I'm going to go do it because I want it and I want to show it off and I'm tweeting and my new helmet and all this stuff. That's what I want to see.
100% agree. People want to make great games. 343 wants Halo Infinite to be the best game. And I'm sure there's way more passionate conversations happening behind the scenes between Xbox and 343 than are on Twitter. But it is important that when we levy feedback to a team, to a platform, that it's respectful, that it's fair. Like, as soon as you elevate that beyond a point where it is rational and it becomes an attack on someone, that just diminishes that feedback. And that feedback, even though it may be, grounded in some truth, it's not going to be taken seriously because you are turning it into something more hostile than it needs to be.
Yeah. Can I address something in the chat really quick? Because
Sure.
I think this is an important point to make. Because I mentioned Halo 3, and someone said to me, "Well, then go back and go play Halo 3. Let the game evolve." It's not about me saying Halo shouldn't evolve. Absolutely, it should evolve. And it's not about I want a clone of Halo 3. I don't think anyone wants that. Because, like you said, go play Halo 3 if you want to play Halo 3. What we're saying is, we want a fun, compelling, engaging Halo that hits the beats on not only on the story side, but like they said way back in the day with Combat Evolved, the 30 seconds of fun. I want that to return in whatever form it needs to return in. Let's see what it'll be on December 8th. But I want a great Halo story. I want a story that I can be emotionally invested in. And I want a fun campaign that every night I'm excited to jump in with my friends and go play. That's it. That's simply it. That's all I want to see. And I think if they can deliver that, they're going to be fine. No, it does not have to be a repeat of the past. It does need to be something new and somewhat innovative, of course, but then pay honor to the past. We'll see how that plays out on December 8th.
Yeah, they have told us this is a spiritual reboot. So what that means fundamentally is that this will pay tribute to the past while moving the franchise forward. If we're using Halo 3 as an example, the jump between Halo 2 and 3 was huge. Halo 3, when that first came out, was a huge evolution for the Halo series. So, yeah, I don't think you were saying that we just want Halo 3. We just want the same energy. Remember when Halo 3 came out? I don't care who you were. You could love PlayStation, you could love Nintendo. When Halo 3 dropped, everyone was playing Halo 3. It didn't matter
Yeah.
what your
Yeah.
console preference was. Like, none of that was factored in. People were like, dude, get on Halo. Let's go. You had your buddy who hasn't played Xbox in 5 years. Like, dude, I got Halo. Let's roll. And that's what I want. That's what
Yes.
I want from Halo Infinite.
Completely agree with you on that.
Got to give a quick shout out to the 250 people. I see Colt Eastwood in here. What up, buddy? I see Fonzarelli Gaming. A lot of amazing people. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Super chat from Gone Mad who says, hit that like button. Yes, hit that like button. If you're digging the show, share it out as well.
Can I say one other thing? Because like you mentioned Cold, you mentioned Fonzarelli, and I just want to say as a whole, because I'm a lurker. I lurk. I love lurking and watching show, because I try and catch this every week when I can. I pop in and out. It's like Colts X and C. I'll check out Dealer. I'll check out Fonzer. Like I try and check out every Game on Daily. Ace and those guys were here earlier. I always try and see what's going on in the gaming community, so I get those perspectives that all these guys have, and it's one thing that I really do like about the Xbox community, since this is an Xbox show, is everyone supports everyone. It's great. It's a great thing to see. We don't have to always agree, because that is not going to happen. But I think that's the beauty of gaming, is we don't have to agree. There are going to be different perspectives and opinions on things. Like even just now, we're talking about this Halo stuff. I see not everyone agrees on that, but that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as people can keep it civil and respectful, that's all that should matter, man. And I'm very proud to be a part of this community, and being able to see all these different shows and all the different perspectives, and people like yourself, Miles, that give these give the community an outlet to where they can voice their opinion, and have the different perspectives and have these conversations, because I do think it's important that we do this. Because look, I'm wrong a lot, but that's okay, because when I'm wrong, and I'm willing to listen to a differing opinion, it gives me the perspective to go, oh, you know what, I get your point on that. That's right. That's cool to see, and I just love that this community is able to do that. So just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's amazing the kind of encouragement and support a lot of these people. Yeah, we see a lot of, like, I'm in a lot of chats, Colt's in a lot of chats. I see you pop in a lot of chats, and it's cool to have those different takes. I had Luke Lore and Sipid Ghost on when the co-op news broke. Him and I were on completely opposite pages on how Halo Infinite should be handled and how the release should be handled, but we were able to have a conversation that respected each other's opinions, didn't get hostile, and then we had people in the chat. Like, that's a passionate conversation, and people in the chat still were disagreeing, but it never really got ugly. And I think that is a huge win for the Xbox community, and a huge win to everyone who's on Twitter, who just wants to talk about gaming and loves gaming, and that's what it's more about than where they're playing, or who's doing what.
Agreed. And I'll just say again, just for myself personally, because I get comments, because obviously I've hosted an Xbox show. I do an Xbox show, XCast. Everyone's, oh, you're Xbox. No, I like games. And I say this all the time. Don't be a fan of brands, be a fan of games. PlayStation has great games. Nintendo has great games. Xbox has great games. There's PC, Indie, ColecoVision, Vectrex. They're all great. There's going to be something for everyone. Just go enjoy that. So it's like, if we could really get away from this discourse of, well, my brand is better than your brand. No, it's not. They're all good. It's your individual choice. It's your money. It's where your friends play. That's where you're going to gravitate and you're going to go. I say it all the time. If you can afford it, get them all. If you can't, get the one where you're going to have the most fun. That's all that matters.
Yeah. It really, yeah, I always It's disappointing to me sometimes because, especially when I talk about Nintendo, whenever I say good things about Nintendo, there's like this contingent of Xbox fans who can't like Nintendo. It seems like you can't like Nintendo and Xbox, and I say no. That is absolutely wrong. You can absolutely like all of them. Like you said, not everyone can afford every console, and I don't expect everyone to buy every console. That's an unreasonable expectation, and I can't stand when people are like, just buy them all, bro. Or gaming's an expensive hobby. Sorry, bro. Like,
Yeah.
that is a mean-spirited approach to this.
Can I say this too? Because I know I'm on here and there's people live, and I want to be crystal clear about this. Someone's even saying it's fun to troll. No, it's not. And here's why. Not everyone is in on the joke, and people are allowed to have opinions without being harassed online. And I see this a lot. Like, look, I have thick skin. Bring it to me all day because I really don't care. I'll just ignore you. But not everyone has thick skin. Not everyone. Look, mental health is a real thing. We're just talking about psychonauts too and all that. Be respectful to other people. If someone's, if I say this all the time, if I'm not being disrespectful to you, why do you think it's okay to be disrespectful to me? We can have adult conversations online. We can have differing opinions that are respectful. But when you do your silly memes and you send the hate mob after people and you do all these silly things online, it does affect people more than you may realize. Telling someone to suck it up and toughen up is not an excuse to be an a-hole online. So just think about that. Treat people the way that you want to be treated. If you like being treated like an a-hole, then God bless you. Go find that group and be treated that way. But most people just want to have a good time. They don't want to be harassed. So when you think you're quote unquote trolling or you're joking online, you're being an a-hole. You really are. And not everyone wants to deal with that. So think about that the next time you're about to hit send on that tweet.
Yeah, reread it. Read it to someone else. Try that. Like,
Yeah.
if you have those really inflammatory takes that are definitely mean-spirited, but they're a joke, read it to someone else. If they don't laugh, don't post it. Because
Exactly.
it's one thing to tell a Ka that he can't cook constantly. Constantly harass him on social media that he can't cook. But he's your buddy. He gets the joke. He's in on it. It's another thing to just attack some random person you've never had a conversation with in your entire life. Or I see this a lot where somebody like takes a picture of someone and then tries to like have an unflattering picture of someone and use that as like an attack on their opinion. It's like, stop. Twitter can be fun. Mostly Twitter is fun. Mostly social media is fun, but don't be mean about it. It doesn't have to be mean.
Agreed.
So yes, excellent points. I'm glad we can have that conversations. I don't think anyone in here is mean. We have a great group of people. Of course, some people do like to troll and they try to, spin it as a joke. But like you said, it's for some people, it's not fun. It's really, really not fun.
I'll even say this. I'll even say this. I literally had an incident earlier this week where there were racist comments thrown my way. Someone threatened to physically harm me if they ever saw me. And I didn't even say anything. I just happened to be in the room at the time, and it was all over video games. Think about that. Video games. This is where we are with online stuff. So this is why I say, just be respectful, because you're not going to be taken seriously when you become quote unquote internet tough guy, or everything that you say has to be a harassing comment. And then you respond with, oh, it's just jokes. Maybe it's not a joke to that person. Just think about that.
I put out a tweet because I was just tired of all the console war nonsense about candy. Basically saying that, like, we shouldn't be investing energy into console wars and what platform's better. We should be using that energy to celebrate why Haribo gold bears are the greatest candy ever created. And for a while it was fun. For a while it was people in on the joke, being like, okay, candy wars, let's talk about what candy's our favorite, and people were having fun. And then at a certain point, it just devolved. And the thread turned into just disgusting hate comments over candy. And the whole point of this thread was to see if Twitter could take a thread about candy and make it awful. Right. And they somehow did. They somehow did it, and it bummed me out. All right, we are going to transition into let's talk about acquisition season, Parris, because it's a meme. It's a meme at this point. I'm really honestly a little tired of talking about Xbox acquisitions, but it keeps coming up. And the latest little nugget that people have really clung on to is this fireside chat with Phil Spencer and Strauss Zelnick, the CEO of Take-Two Interactive. I had people sending me DMs saying, bro, this confirms the Take-Two acquisition. I was like, whoa, pump the brakes. Phil Spencer and the head of Take-Two having a conversation publicly does not confirm that Xbox is buying Take-Two in any world, in any way, shape, or form. So what I want to know, let's say hypothetically, let's go down this rabbit hole together, Parris. Hypothetically, Take-Two is looking to sell. And hypothetically, Xbox is going to put an offer. What in God's name is the amount of money that offer looks like?
I mean, if Bethesda is 7.5, now we're talking Take-Two, so we're talking Grand Theft Auto, all the NBA, all that stuff, BioShock, everything, right? Double. They had to be at least double that, right? It's got to be like probably 15.
It's got to be pushing 20. Like Grand Theft Auto alone, like they could flex that and be like, that's 10. You want Grand Theft Auto alone?
Dead. Yeah.
So if you're Xbox, and I know we joke about Xbox having infinite pools of money, and we or at least some people in the Xbox camp want to flex those big exclusives and want Grand Theft Auto to be an Xbox exclusive. If you're Xbox, is that deal worth it? Ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, if Take-Two isn't going to be exclusive to PlayStation, is it worth it to spend $20 billion for Take-Two Interactive?
Here's what I'll say on that. Is it worth it for Xbox and Microsoft? Absolutely. They could, I wouldn't even say easily, but of course they could acquire them. It could be $25 billion and they would do it. Great for them, bad for the industry, in my opinion. I even think Bethesda pushed it somewhat as far as the health of the industry because they were a major publisher that basically was taken off the board. I do think in Bethesda's case, it was a great partnership because it allows them to not worry about the overhead of being a publisher anymore. They get to just be Bethesda. It gives games a game like Starfield all the time it needs for the polish and QA that it potentially needs to come out the door. So I think in that scenario, I understood it. Now, Take-Two, if that all of a sudden was quote unquote Xbox exclusive, Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead and BioShock, NBA 2K, things like that are now quote unquote Xbox exclusive, not sure that's necessarily great for the industry. I wouldn't want to see that. I want to see Take-Two as an entity on its own, being a major publisher that kind of helps drive and shape the industry on where it's going versus everything starts to, because we'd reach a boiling point. Like you could even throw WB into this and obviously Square and all that. If we get to a point where publishers, like literal entire publishers, are now coming under one branch of Xbox or PlayStation as examples, I don't think that's great for the industry because I think we need that diversity in the industry. We need to see the different strategies and the perspectives that these major publishers can have. We may not necessarily agree with all of them, obviously, but they're needed because I think the competition is needed in that sense. We don't need it to come down to just one or two. We need the vast majority of the ones that we already have out there right now, so it plays out that way. So no, I don't think for the industry it'd be a good idea at all to see Take-Two come under Xbox or PlayStation or anyone else. They need to stay who they are.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these conversations boil down to the narrative that, Xbox doesn't have big exclusives. For some people, that's what a lot of these acquisition dreams are about, is that they just want Xbox to have something, as we saw with, certain camps on the PlayStation side. They want Xbox to have something that PlayStation doesn't have. And when you can flex a Grand Theft Auto, arguably, well, not the big, I don't think it's the biggest, but it is in the top 3 biggest games of all time. Grand Theft Auto 5 is enormous. So if you could flex that, that's more what this is about. It's just flexing on the other platform, which I think if I'm Xbox, I think the better strategy with this is we don't have to buy Take-Two, but what we can do, and I think this would be an even bigger flex, is we partner with Take-Two and we put Grand Theft Auto 6 day one in Xbox Game Pass. We partner with Take-Two to make sure every single NBA game is day and date on Xbox Game Pass. And we give them billions of dollars over the course of years and years. And you see more and more people being like, damn, like I bought a PlayStation because I mostly play, NBA and Grand Theft Auto. And if Xbox is going to give me that in Xbox Game Pass, I'm going to go to Xbox. I'm going to sign up for Game Pass. And that is Xbox's strategy. So I think that's the better play, is leveraging Game Pass as opposed to buying every single publisher in the world.
Now, again, because the chat is making this point, and I do agree with this. If Take-Two was like, hey, because again, remember, Bethesda allegedly, they were willing to be bought. They wanted to be sold. That was the rumor. So if in that scenario, Take-Two or WB or whoever, if a major publisher no longer wants to be a publisher and wants to sell themselves off, all bets
jump
are off.
on it. Yeah.
In that case, that I understand. What I'm saying, the scenario I'm talking about is Microsoft aggressively going after a publisher and trying to acquire them when they were perfectly content being who they are. I would assume Take-Two is fine. I don't think they're looking to go away anytime soon. But if for some reason they were, those IPs are valuable. And of course, Microsoft's not going to be the only suitor in that scenario. Was it Tencent, I believe?
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be after them, right? I'm sure PlayStation would probably want to acquire some of those IPs as well. And in EA, as an example, would probably aggressively go after something like that too. So my whole thing is I just want the industry to be as diverse as it possibly can be. That's all I'm saying. I understand the importance of exclusives. I understand an aggressive Microsoft is good for the industry right now because it's spurring competition. Competition makes everything great. But we will reach a boiling point with all this when we have to ask, when is enough enough? So we'll have to see how it plays out.
When Xbox owns Take-Two, Capcom, Square Enix,
right?
It's an interesting conversation to have because, again, Xbox is leveraging Xbox Game Pass as the main driver for their business, and they want Xbox Game Pass to succeed. I think we are, realistically in a situation where the war of platforms is going to be so competitive that we are going to see more big exclusives than we've ever seen previously. We've already seen it from PlayStation. People are going to throw money around, not necessarily to buy studios, but they are going to throw money around to make sure that these iconic studios are giving their platform an exclusive title. So,
Ken, let me ask you this question. This is a little off topic, but I think it's relevant to what we're talking about. Did you see what Sean Layden said? I think this was just yesterday. I saw.
Oh, about the industry being unsustainable?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I think selling $60 games and that's your only metric for income with the scope and scale of games is unsustainable. And I think, maybe there was some internal conflict I assume there's internal conflict with Sean Layden and PlayStation, and that was the reason he left, is they had different approaches. You have Jim Ryan, who's obviously a person invested in money and the big picture of trying to make PlayStation money. And then I think you had Sean Layden, who was tied to this arguably old-fashioned approach of you put all this money into a game, you charge it for the single price, and then you move on to the next project. I think as games get bigger and bigger, that model is unsustainable. I do believe that if you're spending look at Marvel's Avengers. Marvel's Avengers sells 5 million plus copies and has not made a profit. It still has not made a profit with DLC. Like, that is unsustainable. When you're selling 5 to 10 million copies of a game plus DLC and you are not even breaking even, like, that's not going to work anymore.
No, I think we're kind of on the same page as far as that goes, because it was interesting reading that and just seeing how he was explaining that the development cost of these AAA games just keeps doubling every generation. Like, he's saying PlayStation 5 games are going to get to the point where it's like 200 million to make them. Is that really sustainable? Because what we've already started to see it, and we're going to continue to see it, is sequelitis. You're going to see less risk because brand new IPs that don't succeed, that's not sustainable at those price points, right? So you're going to see more sequels to things that people are familiar with because it's a comfort, it's a known thing. People are going to be more willing to go spend the 60, 70, $80 to go get that. We're going to see more of these microtransactions built into these games because they need to have an extended revenue beyond the initial purchase price. Or if you buy it on the used game market, they still need to try and profit off of you some type of way. So it's interesting. This is why I mentioned earlier, like 2021 has been kind of the year of the indie in the double A game, because I do think we need to embrace that more. And I'll bring this all the way in the Xbox to say, this is why I'm such a fan of Game Pass, because if Microsoft can make deals with these smaller studios that quite honestly need to take the risk to stand out from the crowd, can bring new innovative ideas into the space, get it into a service where people can engage with it, where people feel like I will go try that because maybe they normally wouldn't go spend the 40, 50, $60 on this quote unquote new game, small game they never heard of before. I think that is good for the industry. We obviously look at a Devolver Digital, which embraces that as well. Again, talk about Death's Door, Game of the Year. But the point is, we need more of that in the industry, and not everything needs to be a AAA blockbuster. But it's that AAA blockbuster that generates the most revenue. So we're in this weird loop of the model starting to become unsustainable. Only certain companies can afford to continue to do it, but we're getting less innovation, we're getting less risk. How do you fix it? So I actually found what he said to be pretty compelling. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and I talk about this a lot on the show, and you brought this up as well. I want to believe that Xbox Game Pass and that model is the solution to stagnation when it comes to new ideas.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, like Ubisoft, all of their games for a while were the same because that formula was successful, and then they hit a point where people got tired of it, and so they invested all this time and money and resources and years into these games that came out, and people are like, "I'm done. I'm really done with this," and they're like, damn, okay, well, we got to shift, but it's going to take us years to shift. And so they had to basically reevaluate their entire slate of upcoming games. And I do want to believe that Game Pass is a solution. Game Pass offers a monetization method that allows people to be creative. Indie development. Like, we need to stop obsessing about the bangers, the AAA bangers. I use the movie industry as a great parallel all the time. You look at the Avengers movies. You look at the Marvel movies. A lot of them are fun. A lot of them are great, entertaining movies. They make a ton of money. They cost a ton of money to make. Almost never is a Marvel movie one of my favorite movies of any given year. Like, a lot of the time, like, my favorite movies are these independent films. These independent films that push new ideas, take risks, have a much smaller budget. So I understand the value of the bangers, of the AAA bangers, but I don't want PlayStation or Xbox to only be these humongous quadruple A games that take 4 to 5 years to release. Like, that's not what I want.
Agreed.
Couple super chats here. Harji Chani says, could we shift on what a AAA game is? Does every game need to take 5 to 6 years with hundreds of devs? Maybe scale that back. Unreal Engine 5 or others make it cheaper. Yeah, we kind of touched on this. What's your take? Should we reevaluate what is a big release?
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could, but I think that's what AAA kind of stands for. These long development cycles, big teams making them huge budgets. But it kind of goes back to what we're saying. Yeah, I want to see smaller teams making games that does something unique in the space that doesn't have the ridiculous budget. We need to see more of that in the industry, more so than we need more AAA games. I mean, sure, AAA games obviously are great. We love the big blockbusters, like your Marvel analogy. We love the MCU. We love all those things, but typically when you get to quote unquote award season, they're not winning Oscars, right? They
No.
may make the most money, but they're not winning Oscars. It's usually your more smaller independent type films that are more compelling and that you're going to engage with more. And the same applies to games, in my opinion.
And I'll go back to the cinema approach and the Marvel approach. At a certain point, I look at the Marvel slate and I say, that's too much. That is too many Marvel movies, and I know there's an audience out there, and I know people want them, but at a certain point, do we need to stop and say, like, why not use these resources to make a bunch of other small original ideas and push those instead? But again, the formula says that if they do this, and I'll use PlayStation, this isn't to say anything negative about PlayStation. PlayStation has found a formula for their titles that works, and they are going all in on that formula. Whether you like it or not, that formula makes money, that formula sells games, that formula gets critical reception. I just don't want that to be everything they do, because I think we're going to get to a certain point where we hit that fatigue. That formula stops paying off, and then PlayStation's in a position where, like, damn, okay, like, we have to reevaluate what we're doing. And if a game takes 6 years, we have to wait 6 years for PlayStation to, like, course correct.
But see, this is kind of spinning this all the way back into Halo. That's kind of the whole point. Like we're talking about Infinite. Look at this long extended development cycle. So it's like if you're going to spend that long making that game, when it comes out, it has to deliver because the expectations are going to be sky high because of this extended development time, because of the huge budget, how many people have been making it, the importance of the IP, all of that. So these are kind of the thing. This goes back to what Sean Layden is saying. Can Halo, again, this is like Halo Infinite. Can Halo Infinite take some extreme risks with that huge of a budget and that long of a development cycle and all the expectations that surrounds it? Or do you take a safer route of known things that you know are going to appeal to people because it has to have an ROI, it has to have a return on investment, right? So this is where the industry is when it comes to stuff like that. So it is going to be interesting to see how all this plays out across the industry long term with these big games.
We have a lot of micro risks in these games. We have a lot of established franchises that are coming out almost following the exact same formula, but introducing a few new things to see where people feel about that. And then, as we saw with like Gears 4 to Gears 5 as a great example, they tried some new things, gauged how people felt about it, and then they decided what they wanted to double down on with Gears 5. And that is cool to see, but that means it's going to take us 10 years before we see like a Gears that truly reinvents the formula. And we have a lot of people who talk about, if we're staying on Halo Infinite, the relevance of Halo Infinite, the relevance of that formula. And I've seen people have takes that Xbox needs to retire franchises like Halo and Gears because they are tired and they're not doing anything new with them. I don't buy into that, but do you think there's any merit to that criticism?
Yeah, I do. This, like, I'll take Gears as an example. Do you remember when they originally showed Gears 4, like the original teaser with Rod Ferguson? It was at whatever E3 that was. It really looked to be leaning more into sci-fi horror, the horror aspects of that
Mm-hmm.
Gears world. Because if you remember the original Gears of War, it was more sci-fi horror than it was an action game, right? And that
Yeah.
obviously evolved over the years. But then what did we get? They played it safe. They gave us the standard now the standard Gears formula. Even Gears 5 kind of a little bit leaned into some open world aspects to kind of give you a little bit of choice on how you tackle objectives, but for the most part it was still par for the course. Now we got Hive Busters, which I enjoyed and I kind of liked what they did with that. I want Gear 6 to be something different than what we've had, but can they afford to do that? That's the big question that you have to ask across the industry with all of these big games that have these sequels and things like that. When we get the next, I don't know, the next Uncharted. Now, I love Lost Legacy. Maybe you do some more stuff in that, but is that going to stray too far away from the standard formula? It's God of War that we're getting. I'm assuming it's going to be a natural extension of what we just got. Now I'll take the not the first God of War, but this quote unquote reboot of God of War that we got, a few years ago. Corey Balrog took it a different direction. We need more of that
Yes.
as an example. So actually that's a good one right there, where it's an established AAA franchise. It took a break for a while, and when it came back, it was doing something new. I want to see more of that in the industry if we're going to continue to churn out these sequels. But what we really need is we really need more new IPs. That's what we really need. We need to see more original content to enter the space at the AAA level that can give that breath of fresh air that we truly need.
I'm on the same page. As someone who loves the industry, loves gaming, I want people to take the formula, take the script and just tear it up. The dramatic, over the top, tear up the script, throw it out and say, we are doing something new. And I would love every single AAA game to come out and be something new. Not all of them are going to work. And there used to be a time in this industry where every single new AAA game was a new IP because people were trying to figure out what works. And we had some stinkers. We had some terrible games that just landed with a huge thud, but then we had games that completely shaped the industry, and we had games that came out and people mirrored their games after that because when it hit, it was this big force. I'll use Gears of War, for example. There were so many games after Gears of War that were trying to be Gears of War clones. Like so many games that to the T tried to copy every element that Gears of War introduced. And now we're at a point where people are like, Gears isn't relevant. And like, imagine going from this groundbreaking new IP to an IP that people say doesn't even matter anymore. And that kind of sucks. And it doesn't have to be that way. Look at Breath of the Wild. Zelda's been going for so damn long. The Legend of Zelda has had so many different lives and iterations over the years. And Nintendo, after 25 years, was able to come out with a Zelda game that was completely different. And you have developers from Xbox, you have developers from PlayStation. A lot of the biggest developers in the world are looking at Breath of the Wild and saying, that's what I want. I want my game to be that. I want my game to come out and subvert expectations and be something in a universe that people expect, but a formula that people don't expect. And I wanted to believe for a long time that that's maybe what they were trying to do with Halo Infinite. I'm not really in that camp anymore. I don't think it's going to be that outrageous. But again, if you're a business, it's probably scary to take that risk.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I mean, we're on the outside looking in and just commenting on what we see. But like I said, this is a multi-billion-dollar business. So certain decisions have to be made, to protect their investments. Of course they're going to do that. Look, we're not saying we're right and everything has to blow it all up and all that. I mean, obviously the model is working because like we're saying, the gaming industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry year over year. So they're doing something right. And obviously we love it because we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it. But, you don't want to fall into a rut. I think that's the simplest way to say this. You want to see new and unique things throughout the space. And that's all we're asking. And as I was saying before, I think a lot of that happens at the indie and the AA level and not so much at the AAA level.
Yeah, let's look at a recent example. Our good pals at Epic Games got in some controversy recently because they took blatantly the formula of Among Us, this standout indie game, and they put that in Fortnite. And they said, here's this idea you guys know and love. This indie team created it. We're taking it and putting it in our game. So it sucks when that happens, when you see a big, let's just call him a big bully in the space who thinks they can just flex their weight and do whatever they want, take this independent developer's idea almost to the T, same naming convention, and release it as their own thing. But like you mentioned, you bring up an excellent point. That was a unique, original idea created by an incredibly small, passionate team. And that is one of the biggest games right now and has been one of the biggest games of the last few years. And that was a risk. Nobody had done that idea before, but it came out and was a huge success.
It worked.
God of War, another phenomenal example of a game in the space that came out, completely said, we don't care what God of War 3 did. Like, that's not what this game is. And arguably, that is the biggest and most successful God of War of all time. So all we're saying, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, is gamble. Throw that money around. It's not ours,
right.
And we won't always support what you. We won't always support what you do. Like if you take a risk and we hate it, you're just going to get lambasted. But we want you to take them anyway. That's all we're saying. Super chat from Space Dovahkeen says The Last of Us 2 was probably a $200 million game, and we don't know to this date if it has sold more than 6 million copies. That game was aiming to sell around 20 million easily. So there's always a lot of conversations about what PlayStation's sales expectations are for their releases. Do you think 20 million was a realistic figure for them? If they were shooting to sell 20 million copies of The Last of Us, was that realistic in any world?
I don't necessarily think so. I would even say 15 is probably pushing it. I mean, we're just traditionally looking at game sales that are on one platform. That's usually around where you plateau at. I mean, obviously there's been some exceptions over the years, but now 20 million seems kind of extreme to me.
Yeah, if you are a company targeting 20 million, stop, reevaluate that. Nintendo is probably the only person in the space right now who can look at
Yeah.
certain franchise and say, we're going to sell 20 million and it's going to be fine. Mario Kart, my God, that game will not stop selling. Like Mario Kart 8 just keeps selling. Super Smash Bros. Keeps selling. Everyone else, stop. If you do have any expectations of selling 20 million copies, reevaluate that, shift your budget, because the reality is people are playing more games than ever. So people have more options than ever. So
Exactly.
these big releases don't inherently mean as much as they used to, because if you're not interested in the idea, it used to be like, oh wow, there's only like 5 big games coming out this year. I'm going to buy them because I don't have anything else to buy. With PC, with Switch, with the indie scene, that is not the case. My backlog is just ever increasing, and I will never have a control over it ever again. Super chat from Jeff Grubb. What up, dude? My new thing is to listen to live podcasts while doing box VR workouts. So give me some motivation. Yeah.
We already gave it to you. We almost 2 hours.
Come on, bro.
You should be a sweaty mess right now.
You should be just dripped. Okay, one more super chat from Jigga J. Whatever happened to smaller download sizes and compression with these new consoles? Just found out 2K22 is 160 gigs. What gives?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what did happen to that? That is a great question.
What is the new Call of Duty? I think it leaked. It was like 260
something?
or 240.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
if you
it's
have a
insane.
Series S, my God, that's over half your hard drive with Call of Duty.
Mhm.
So we're seeing some cases of it on Series X and S where the Series S version is smaller, but they didn't make us believe that it would be a bigger deal and we'd see more titles. So hopefully they're just figuring it all out. But with PlayStation and Xbox having these different approaches to upgrades and smart delivery only be on one platform, there might be some developers who just say, like, I'm just not going to like take the time to give you a smaller version. Like, it'll run on
Yeah.
the Series S, but it is what it is. Sorry. Okay, we're coming towards the end of the show here, Parris, and I promised we would talk some good about PlayStation. I did, and I want to make sure that, this is an Xbox show, and I know not everyone cares about PlayStation at all, so that's why I put this at the very end. But I wanted to be fair because, like we talked about earlier, PlayStation and Nintendo have great games. PlayStation has confirmed that next Thursday they will have their PlayStation Showcase. And I want to stress the word showcase here because it seems very specific. It seems very, very specific to set the tone and the expectations of what this is. PlayStation fans have been loud and hungry for new announcements, as I'm sure you've seen. What are you expecting? What are you expecting from PlayStation at this showcase after a very kind of long lull in big announcements from them, after them completely skipping E3?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited for it. I'm imagining, obviously, short term, what we might see Kina again, a little more Horizon stuff. Longer term, I actually expect the show to close with God of War. That would be my expectation. We'll see some stuff for Gran Turismo, see whatever else Naughty Dog is potentially working on. Hopefully, knock on wood, some new IPs. They're obviously probably partner up with some third parties to show off some stuff. So this is more of a longer roadmap, probably giving us into the rest of 2022, maybe even to 2023. They already said we're not going to see PlayStation VR, so the expectation has been set. But Yeah, I'm expecting this to literally be what they're saying, a showcase to say, hey, here's the current, the upcoming, and the future of what you're going to get for PlayStation, to keep people excited. This kind of almost goes back to what I was saying, where Xbox has kind of given us the steady streamer stuff of information, where it looks to me like PlayStation has kind of bottled it all up, and they're just going to let it all out at once and let people digest it, in that way. But I fully expect we'll see God of War to close the show for this. I think that's going to be the big tentpole thing for them.
Yeah, we have 40 minutes of game announcements, trailers. No PSVR, which some people, myself included, are excited about, because there's always the criticisms when they have the VR showcases, because it's not for everyone. But
Hmm.
40 minutes of PlayStation is a lot. It can give us a good glimpse of what the future looks like. So I'm with you. I want to see new reveals. I want to see some new IPs. I want to see some new ideas. Obviously, God of War would be huge, and I'm sure it'll show up in some capacity. I'm sure we'll see Horizon as well. But I'm there for the new stuff, because whether you like PlayStation or not, when they do a showcase, they know how to get people excited. They know how to get people talking. And there's the conversation right now that they put this Horizon news out before the showcase, so that when the showcase drops, people will just forget all about the the drama,
Right.
because they dropped all these bangers. But um are there any wild predictions? Like, if a team was releasing a new IP, who would it be for you at this PlayStation showcase?
That's a great question. I don't know. I honestly don't even want to speculate too much, because again, speculation's what gets us in trouble. I just and this is obviously more known. I'm expecting to hear something from Naughty Dog. That's and it wouldn't shock me if it's a new IP. I'll leave it at that.
That would get people excited. Do you think we're gonna see this rumored remake of The Last of Us?
Yeah, it seems like, well, I shouldn't say yes, we're going to get it, but that rumor definitely seems strong, and it wouldn't surprise me, I guess, if we did get it. So yeah, it wouldn't shock me.
Is Blue Point announcing the Metal Gear
No,
Solid remake?
no, no.
Yeah, it's just before I did the
Yeah.
show today, I was just going down the rabbit hole and seeing like what people are speculating on Twitter.
Okay, okay. Actually, I do have one. I have one. I have one. I'm going to go out on a limb. Not that it's coming, may not even come in 2022. SOCOM's coming back.
SOCOM's coming back. Oh,
There you go.
damn.
And I'll add on to that, because there's been so many different little Easter eggs going on. Wouldn't be shocked to see Jack and Daxter and or Sly Cooper come back as well. But I'm gonna die on the SOCOM hill. That'll be my
SOCOM,
crazy.
some
Yeah.
legacy bangers from PlayStation making a return. Okay, I support that.
Wait. Well, since we're really talking crazy, screw it. I'll go even crazier.
Let's get weird. Let's get wild.
What if they didn't close the show with God of War, but they close it with Peter Parker and Miles Morales? I'm just saying. Just saying.
Oh, getting people ready for that
And look,
multiverse?
just a tiny teaser. Not that it's coming anytime soon, but just let them know we haven't forgotten. We're working on Spider-Man 2. It's coming, and you show Peter and Miles together. I think that'd be great.
Let's go. Let's do it. Let's people want Bloodborne 2. Are we getting Bloodborne 2? Is that in this
Mhm.
showcase of dreams? A new From Software PlayStation exclusive IP. Is that happening?
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me.
PlayStation's throwing some money around.
Yeah.
PlayStation's looking to lock down some big exclusive games from some big people in the industry, so let's see. Stay
Yep.
stay
We'll
tuned.
see.
We'll find out soon. We'll find out very soon. All right, Paris, we are going to wrap this up. 2 hours just flew by. It's been amazing hanging out with you. Thanks so much for everything you do, dude. I really appreciate it. Again, for the amazing people who've been hanging out with us. Um, where can they find you? Where can they harass you on social media?
On social media, you can find me at Vicious696 on Twitter and on Instagram. And as far as content wise, I'm on Kind of Funny, and I'm on Gamertag Radio, and my YouTube channel is my name, Paris, Parris.
Beautiful. Short and sweet. Love it. Huge thanks to everyone who tuned in. That's going to be it for the show, and we will catch you guys next week. Have a good one, everybody.
Peace.